Hello, everyone, and welcome to another YBN Industry Leader interview series. My name is Miran, and today we're joined by Danah White, who is the VP of Personal Lines and Manitoba Branch Operations of Hub International. How's it going, Danah?
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks so much for joining us. For anyone that doesn't know, we have two Hub people on our Young Brokers Network, being Bailey and Osmond. So they've been great additions, and they both speak so highly of you. So it only made sense to feature you here on our show.
Well, thank you. I'll have to remember to give them their $50 bribe later.
Yeah, exactly. So Danah, obviously we know each other. I worked at Hub for a bit, but for everyone that doesn't, can you tell us a bit about yourself outside of insurance? Where'd you grow up and some of your hobbies outside of what we do all day?
Sure, I can do that. I was born and raised in Kipling, Saskatchewan, a farm outside of that. My dad and mom farmed and ranched. I was the oldest of four kids. Grew up and left home and went to professional cooking school, oddly enough. Got a certificate in that. And about a year and a half, 2 years later, I got an opportunity to purchase a bar in Qu'Appelle, Saskatchewan, bar and restaurant. It was a bowling alley originally, but we managed to make it into a bar because people would way rather drink than bowl. So I did that for about 8 years. While I was doing that, I opened a catering company out of the business as well. That was mobile. We had a trailer. We went to events, things like that. So I sold that in 2009. Kept the catering company for a couple of years, but had decided that, I took about 6 months off and decided it was time for me to maybe get a job again, and ran into the owner of the Indian Head Agencies, which is where I started my insurance career, at a curling event for my kids. And we chatted, and she ended up calling me and asking me to come in and chat with her. And so I did. Originally, I started in their business, doing real estate, working part-time at the auto counter, got my real estate license, and then found out that I absolutely hated when people asked me questions and I either didn't know the answer, or worse yet, I did know the answer and I couldn't say it. So I made sure I got my cave really quickly and fell down the rabbit hole that is insurance. Along the way, raised two wonderful kids. They're 25 and 23 right now, which is my favorite ages so far, and have my first grandbaby in November. So it's been absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, amazing. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So that's Danah, that's a very unique story.
Yeah.
The trend is everyone in insurance doesn't really go after it, they kind of fall into it, but not many people own a restaurant or even come from that world. So, that's how you started, but what made it, like, specifically, is there something that made you want to stay in insurance, or say, you know what, this is a good spot for me and I see my career, finishing out my career in this?
Absolutely. One of the things that I've always loved about insurance is that there is always a challenge. There's always a way to dig for more of an answer, to figure out a solution for a client. So you can really sink your teeth into it as a career. Always changes. No day is ever the same. So that's really what keeps me intrigued in it. I originally, had thought it might be a boring, I think everybody thinks that, but it is the farthest from the truth once you get into it.
Yeah. At its core, it's a people business, right? And
absolutely,
people that can thrive in building relationships, built on trust and transparency, all those things. It's on so many levels that's required, right? So same thing with me, being a young broker, I thought, geez, this might be a little out of my comfort zone. Like, wasn't the top A student in school. And I always kind of thought of insurance as an accountant, something of that nature. But those are great comments, and I completely agree with you on everything you said. Now, I with your role at Hub, I know just there's a ton of branches in the prairies, and hub, as large as they are, and how many employees you oversee, that's a huge responsibility in its own right. You mentioned you had 2 kids, grandchild soon, or sorry, was it soon or
Yep.
now?
Now.
Soon. Oh, okay. So that's happening. And then, yeah. So how do you manage your work-life balance between family, especially in that time, when you had your restaurant, all those things going in your life? How do you make the separation between work and family fun?
I think looking back on my life kind of in its entirety, I really do wish I would have had more boundaries between my work and my family. When I had the bar, I didn't have that. We lived above it. The kids were quite little yet, so it was definitely a challenge, but I do wish I would have focused more on them. Now I make a point of trying to get away, try to detach from my phone for at least a little bit on the weekends when I'm there and I'm with them. Being a leader, it does get a little bit more challenging sometimes to really, really disconnect. But I do try to do that. And I try to get away once a year for a week, somewhere where there is no internet. So I do have to unplug. And so I would suggest that for most people, just to focus on what's in front of you, be really present wherever you are, and the rest will follow.
Yeah, absolutely. Now with work, you're not just doing your day job at Hub. I know you're also involved in Hub's Women Network. Not sure if you're part of any other, outside organizations, but how do you, what benefits did you see by personally participating in those kind of organizations or networks? And yeah, what was your experience with those?
Anytime I've been a part of any network, externally or internally for that matter, what I find is it is the relationships that matter the most. It doesn't seem to matter, what you do, what your interests are. Having somebody that you can call that you may have crossed paths with in another way, shape, or form, is always a good thing. There are so many different and unique individuals on the planet that you can't know enough people. You can't know enough different things and have enough unique experiences. I recommend that everyone join those associations and have, outside interests, because it helps you with your work, and it helps you to unwind and create that little bit of a barrier as well. In this business, in the past, and in all business, not just this one, there's always been like a competition, or a thought of a competition. And the reality is we are all in this together. The carriers, the brokers, the MGAs, all of us. And having those strong relationships just helps all of us advance, both the industry and our business, and for our own clients. When we know the carriers and we have those first name basis relationships, it makes the service that we can provide our clients significantly better. And knowing other brokers, having a social interaction with other brokers, even if they are the brokerage down the road, is a really great way to find a safe place, someone that understands, somebody that gets your sewer backup jokes or whatever. It's insurance is hard for a lot of people to take in. So anytime that you can find people that are a friendly ear, it's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can just think personally, like, when you're in front of a decision you have to make, and can be an emotional one, or one that you're obviously biased to, that you need to make a decision. Having an external person that you trust and respect, that you can go to and just get their opinion, I know that's hugely valuable. And that's really how you build that foundation of people around you, is getting outside of your box, right, and expanding that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So kind of turning the back to insurance more specifically, I'm curious, in your insurance career so far, what's been the biggest challenge you've had to face so far?
Hmm. Well, there's been a few. The biggest one though was before we were acquired by Hub. So I was still working with Indian Head Agencies. It was about 2012, I think, and I ended up getting sick. I ended up getting Lyme disease. I was very, very ill. I had to take a year off of work. Um, I noticed the first pain when I was actually studying for my CABE 4. So I wasn't able to actually attend the ceremony to get my certificate or anything like that. I was really, really ill, and I wasn't sure at that point in time I would get better. And so coming back from that was incredibly difficult. Um, but I can honestly say the experience in itself has served me well, not necessarily because basically just in the way that it made me really, for one, appreciate how easy I thought everything was, and how life actually went along. But it also made me very empathetic, made me much more understanding of people around me. Um, I hope it's made me a better leader, knowing what that feels like and is like. Um, but it was definitely a very, very challenging time, and not just my career, but also in my life. But overall, I have been incredibly lucky and very blessed to come out the other side of that with minimal disruptions to my life. So that's definitely the most challenging that I've had so far.
Wow. No, that's amazing. And I can't say I relate on, something on a medical leave like that, but I'm sure everyone can relate in some way to, some sort of hardship in their life. And to me, it's always, it just shows the duality of life, right? Like there can't be good if there's no bad.
Mhm,
So it's moments like that where, yeah, I mean, you obviously came out at the other end much more grateful and
mhm,
appreciate the time you have and all those things, right? So that's great.
mhm.
Now, it's your, like we said earlier, your rise to where you're at Hub now is very interesting. They acquired your past brokerage, so that in its own right, and then just your last several years at Hub, what, like, was there any big obstacles you found you had to kind of overcome? I'm sure it was intimidating to step into a huge national brokerage, versus a small town one. So what was that like?
It was quite intimidating. Honestly, even coming from the bar, going into the regular workforce, I've pretty much always been self-employed. I had a daycare when my kids were really little, and so I wasn't sure I really had any talents, that someone might find useful. So starting into the insurance industry, finding out that it worked for me, and then when we were acquired by Hub. Um, Really being able to spread my wings, I think at that point in time was wonderful. It gave me an opportunity, several opportunities that I never would have had just in a mom and pop brokerage.
Yeah,
um, and I've been very grateful for those opportunities.
yeah, no, that's amazing. So to your point, the flip side of that question as well is, what would you say the proudest or happiest moment of your insurance career has been?
um, I think when getting the job as VP of Saskatchewan operations was a huge moment for me, a milestone, because we had just been newly acquired as part of the mainline acquisition. So that was very exciting. It was wonderful to be able to start to travel around the province and start to really use the best of my talents, which is really my relationship building, my people skills, those sorts of things. So it really gave me a chance to hone those and work with people, which I absolutely love doing. So it was exciting, proud of it, proud of how far I've come, and really excited to see what is yet ahead.
Yeah, amazing. I know, yeah, Hub seems to be great for that because, Bailey and I worked together before she came to Hub, but it's similar when you said she spread your wings, I automatically thought of Bailey as well because just seeing the strides she's taken between both companies, amazing. And yeah, it's obvious, you've had an influence on her between people from your experiences with people that had an influence on you, right? Just like you said. So that's great stuff. Now, not to be a Debbie Downer, but if you had to point to a mistake, is there any in your career that you just have regret or perhaps wish you acted a little differently or went a different way?
Absolutely. To put my finger on just one would not be possible because there's been so very many. If you see people that haven't made a lot of mistakes, it's because they haven't tried a lot of different things. I'm very blessed and always have been. I'm not held back by fear, which is something that I would recommend that all young people, women especially, work on, not to make decisions based on fear. The best things are outside of your comfort zone. But that's also where mistakes happen. That's where the challenges are. That's where the scary stuff lands. And some of those mistakes are bigger than others. And some of those mistakes I would love to take back, but I can't. But it's also part of what built me as a leader, right? Not fully understanding communication styles, collaboration, not getting enough opinions on processes, those sorts of things. Every time I've made a call that wasn't right, I've never walked away from that and thought that everybody else was wrong. I've always been open to the fact that, ooh, I could have done that better. Yeah. And although I wish I would have done it differently, I don't necessarily regret it in the way that I, really wish I could go back and do it again. Because they are learning experiences, and sometimes a mistake can turn into a wonderful thing. It just depends on the outcome. It depends how you deal with the outcome as well, right? If you do make a mistake and you use it to let it crush you, then nothing good comes of it. But if you can step back, look at it, and look at yourself really critically as well, and say, okay, that wasn't very cool. I'm going to try that again, and I'm going to do better next time. Having the strength to do that is really what makes everything better. It's that resilience.
Yeah, I like that saying. I'll have to remember it. That wasn't very cool. I'll try better next time. I tend to be a lot meaner to myself.
Yeah, well, I've learned that as I've aged as well, that the best person to beat up on yourself is you, because you know exactly what to say to yourself. So you have to stop that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm sure you can look just in your insurance career, how much things have changed, and how much we think it's going to change, never mind how much it will, right? So what areas do you see as the biggest opportunity for young brokers moving forward, whether it's, just a certain specialization of coverage, or, I'm trying to ask you really, but like it could be a different course or management experience. Is there a gap in the industry right now that you think is going to get bigger?
Absolutely. We were actually discussing this on a call yesterday with SGI. In the industry, and I will take responsibility for this as well, anyone that's been in for 10 years or more holds some of this responsibility. We have not done a good enough job selling this industry for our next generation. We've all kind of fallen into it, which has worked well for us, but it isn't continuing to work well. In Saskatchewan right now, the stats are there are 7 people leaving the industry to 1 coming in. I think Manitoba is 4 to 2. So we're not replacing ourselves in the industry, and it is creating this gap and this vacuum that I think all of us are feeling right now. Carriers right down to the smallest brokerages. we need to figure out a way to make insurance be a goal for young people, and really start to sell the opportunities for young people. Really, this is an absolutely limitless career. You can take it in any direction that you choose, any of your interests, anything that you can imagine, it exists. You
Mhm.
know, we've insured intergalactic travel now. Like 10 years ago, who would have even thought that was a thing?
Yeah.
So, I mean, literally anything that you can imagine, there is a spot for it in insurance. And any of your technical abilities, any passions, anything, there is a spot for it. So I just, as far as going forward in the industry for young people, I would just say find what you like and find where your background is, what feels right, and just take every single opportunity that is presented to you and don't look back.
Um, that's interesting. Those stats you pointed out about the churn. I had no idea it was that severe. I mean, that's definitely not sustainable. But I don't. I know IBAC Canada wide is trying to address that problem, and each insurer as well. I'm sure is doing some stuff. But even locally in Winnipeg, I know Red River College is just starting to run some courses, and I think fundamentals in CAPE 2 and 3. So you're starting to see that too. So I think it's going to change for sure. But I like how you said it, that we have to actually take responsibility. And
Mhm.
I guess not me. I haven't been in here 10 years, so
Yeah.
I'm guilt-free, but uh, definitely do a better job. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Now you're obviously a role model in the industry, just with your role at Hub and all the networking you yourself do. So what advice would you give to the next generation of leaders and brokers just to thrive in their career? Doesn't have to be insurance specific, but you've said a lot of great stuff here, but if you really had to cap it off.
Capping it off, I would say take every opportunity presented to you, no matter what you're doing. Even if you don't know that you can, take the opportunity. Take every course, take everything that presents itself. Education is always yours. You can never have it taken away. There is a ton of different ways to learn things nowadays. There's right now I'm in an MBA. I'm taking my MBA. It's all online. So there's so many opportunities that we never had, even just a few years ago. So just, every single opportunity you have, take it and run with it. Good things will happen.
Agreed. Yeah, and you know what, to your point earlier about how the industry is being slow, COVID is a terrible thing, but it really has made us innovate way faster than we probably would have. Everyone's, for the most part, can work from home or is working from home, and even education, like you're taking your MBA online. That's amazing. I'm in some CIP courses. Those are all online. So the opportunity is there for sure. It's just a matter of willingness. And even on the committee, we have a yearly election to put in a new co-chair. There's some added responsibility, but I tell the people that are taking the new role just that, don't think it's just pure fun, but it's not that difficult either. You got to treat this like a course, right? Like a few hours a week, and what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. And really the reward is what you want it to be. So.
Absolutely. And those networking opportunities, especially in a situation like IBAM and IBAS, they also create visibility. It gives you some validity in your role, to be seen as, more of an expert in the field. So again, those are great things to be part of, and great things to embrace and learn from.
Well, Danah, that wraps up all of our questions. I just want to personally thank you for taking the time to join us. That was really, really insightful, and I know everyone's going to appreciate hearing what you had to say.
Well, thank you very much. And I will forgive you for telling me I'm a role model, because that sounds like I'm old. So, but I appreciate it very much. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Oh, absolutely.